Hi guys, so in this video we're going to take a look at Git. Git is a tool which allows programmers to manage their source code, and it probably is already installed on your Eclipse, but let's just check that. If you go to Help and then Eclipse Marketplace, take a moment to load up. Okay, now in the find, type egit and press enter, and probably you will see that it's already been installed. I think it's installed automatically on reasonably new versions of Eclipse. If you don't have it installed, then just install it. We're going to need it for what we're going to do in the rest of this video. Okay, so Git is a useful tool, but it's not actually part of the course and you don't have to use it. So this video is going to be me demonstrating how Git can help you, but ultimately it's your judgment whether the benefit is worth the effort that you have to put in to learn a little bit of using Git. So in order to demonstrate how you can use Git, I'm going to create a simple Java project. I'll just click on this Create a Java Project, and I'll call my project Demo. Okay, and inside the project I'm going to make a class. Let's call it Main. And inside the main class I'm going to put system.out.println. This is version 1. Okay, so I'll save that and click Run. And here I've got a really simple project. Okay, it's just a single source file and it prints out a version number. So let's say that this was maybe a little bit more complicated program which does something a bit more interesting, but it's version 1 of my program. And I've got the program working, so this is kind of a checkpoint for me, you know. This is doing some work, and I've got it working, and I'm probably thinking about adding a new feature, but there's a bit of danger because adding that new feature I might mess up the old feature. I could break things. So what I really want to do is I want to take a snapshot of the working program at the moment, so that if I really mess things up, then I can return to that snapshot later on and undo any damage that I do by accident. Well, taking a snapshot is one of the easiest things to do in Git. So the first thing to do is I've got to enable Git for my project. I right click on Demo, and then I go to Team and Share Project. Now the reason Git is listed under the Team option on the menu is because Git is often used by teams of programmers to coordinate their source code on a single shared project. So if you've got lots of guys working on one big program, then Git's really useful for that. But like I mentioned before, it is also useful for individual programmers, so don't get put off by the fact that it's under the team setting. So we go to Team and choose Share Project. Okay, now you can choose where you want your repository to be. So the repository is where Git stores all of its files, and in a way the repository is the most important thing that you can have if you want to keep track of your program. So it's more important than the workspace itself. I normally keep repositories in a folder for Git, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to click Create, and then I'm going to put a folder in my home directory. I'll just call it Demo, and that will do for now. But you can put your repository somewhere else. You can, if you want, click this box in order to create a repository automatically in the parent folder of your project. That works fine as well. Okay, so after I've clicked Finish, Git has created a repository where it can store all of its files, and Git is enabled for this project. Now you can tell Git is enabled because you'll see now that in square brackets after the project it will say the name of your project and it will say the word master. Okay, so Git's now been applied to this project, and what I want to do is I want to take a snapshot of all of the files in this project. So I right click on the project and then I go down to Team and I choose Add to Index, and what that does is it goes through every file in my project, and you'll see that when the file's been added to the index you get a little green cross in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, that just means that Git knows the file exists. So when I say it's added to the index, that's Git's index, and Git uses that index to know which files it needs to keep track of. That doesn't mean that Git has snapshotted any of those files yet. To actually record the contents of the files, I right click, go down to Team, and this time I choose Commit. Now when I choose Commit, a window opens. You'll see it down here. It says Git Staging. Now it appears in the bottom of this window, which is really annoying because this is actually too small a space to see everything in there. So what I normally do is I'll close the outline window over here, and then I'll move Git Staging over here. If I close the task list as well, and this is you need at least this much space to see what is in your Git Staging window. So if we look through the Git Staging window, first of all you've got this Unstaged Changes area, and this is empty. This Unstaged Changes is for files which Git knows about but it's not going to snapshot. Okay, and this Staged Changes is all of the files that Git is going to take a snapshot of. Now the last box, the commit message, this is where you can write a message for yourself or for other programmers to read in order to understand what state your program was in at the time that you took this snapshot of your program. So in this case this is like a really primitive program. It just prints out the text. So I'm just going to write commit message. Well, it prints a version message. That's all my program does at the moment. So now I hit commit, okay, and Git has stored that program. So let's say that I change this program. I'm just going to go here and change the version number to 2. And let's say that I've also added some features. So I'll put system.out.println. This is a new feature. Okay, and I'll save that. Okay, so now this file has changed. Now notice that over here the file has appeared in Unstaged Changes. That's because Git knows about this file. It knows that it exists, but I haven't actually asked Git to snapshot this file. Okay, so Git is kind of, in a way, it's giving me a warning here. It's saying, well, that file's changed, but you haven't asked me to snapshot it. And you can see that when I hover over the file, there's actually a green button here which will add this into this index here in order to say that I want to snapshot the file. Now the easiest thing to do is actually just hit the plus here or the plus here, and that will move it into here. So I'm saying, yeah, I do want to snapshot that file. Now I'm going to write another commit message. So let's say that I've just put added a new feature for version 2. Okay, so I've added a new feature and I've upgraded the version to 2, and I hit commit. Okay, now I'm going to add a new thing to my program. So let's say I'll make a new class. Okay, let's call this foo, and I'm going to put a constructor for foo, system.out.println created a foo. Okay, and then in my main program I'm going to make a new foo. So when I run the program now, I better change the version number to 3. Okay, so when I run the program now, it says this is version 3. Still got that new feature that I added in version 2, and I've also created a foo. Now if we look over to the side, you can see that whereas this main file is part of Git knows that exists. This foo.java, I haven't actually added that to Git yet. Okay, and over here it says, well, look, that file has changed. That's a completely new file, but you're not at the moment. You're not going to take a snapshot of it. Okay, and this main.java, well, that's changed, and I'm not taking a snapshot of that at the moment. So what I do is I click on this plus, and it's going to say that all of those files I want to record what's in them. So it's going to move them from the unstaged changes area into the staged changes area. Double click on the plus, and they all move over. Okay, so now let's say that I added that foo class, and commit. Okay, I've now done 3 versions of this program. Okay, so let's say I start version 4, but I've made a mistake, right? I've really messed up on version 4. I've accidentally deleted some text, and it's gone crazy. And I'll save that back. So now I've lost what I had before. Well, without Git, this could be a bit of a disaster. I've got to try to repair my program, but with Git, it's really easy. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is I'll right-click on my project. I'll go down to Team. This is where I've got all of my Git commands, and I'm just going to go to Show in History. That gives me this History tab, and I'm just going to drag that up here as well, so that I've got a easier window view. Now the history shows me all of the stuff that I've done in my project up to this point, so you can see all of the messages that I typed in earlier on. Okay, here's the original time that I took a snapshot of the project, and my comment is prints version message, because that's all the program did at that moment. And then here's the second commit that I made, and it says added a new feature for version 2. Here's the third commit that I made, added foo class. And of course I've made some changes since that, because I was trying to create version 4, okay? But I messed up version 4. So what I want to do is I want to go through to the last working version, the third version. So I go over to this position in my history, and I right-click the mouse button, and then I'm going down to Reset and choose Hard. When I choose Hard and click Reset, everything gets put back to exactly how it was when I last clicked the commit. Now that's a super handy feature, right? It means that you can experiment with stuff without being afraid that you're going to mess up what you already have working. And I can go back as far as I like. So for example, let's say I want to go back to version 2, right? Let's say that I just decided that version 3, it was all a mistake. So I can right click on version 2, reset, hard. Okay, and now I've moved back in history. Okay, so I'm back on the version of my program that was version 2. That foo class that I created for version 3 has completely disappeared, and all of the code that I wrote for version 3 has disappeared. Okay, so this is only the very beginning of what Git can do. It's got lots of features, and once you start using Git regularly, we can look at some of the other advantages that Git gives you when you're working with source code. But for the time being, I just want you to practice a little bit with this process of adding new files and then staging the files and writing a commit message for what you've done, clicking commit, and then getting familiar with how you can move backwards in time if you make a mistake, and undo errors that you've made. Okay, it's a super useful thing to have in your project.